When did God change your name? When you were born, who chose your name? Your mom and dad chose your name. But then sometimes you get married and you have a name change. Or you go through a time in your life when God does something really amazing and your name gets changed. I know that when I have little kids, we have, like pet names for them, and then their name, they grow into their name. Well, in Judaism, you are given a name based on what your parents are in the middle of in their relationship with God. And so it's oftentimes the case if you read, especially from last week's Parsha to this week's. Well, there's some amazing things that happen in this week's Parsha, because there's times when God changes your name. And when God changes your name, that's worth paying attention to. This week, Jacob, who has run away from his uncle Laban and run back after having left his father's house, he ends up having an encounter with an angel. And this is our picture from our Bible. In the Tree of Life Bible, we have this picture of Jacob wrestling. And in this picture, Michael Washer, our amazing artist, did something super cool. Let me show you. He shows you that in the wrestling, his name goes from Jacob to Israel. Israel is up here. Jacob is down here, Yaakov. So when you see his name change like that, he's showing you two images of it, because there's the physical wrestling, and then there's the overcoming wrestling. And Michael had a really interesting thing to tell me about this picture when he drew it, which I found fascinating. He said that sometimes people think Jacob was wrestling against himself, but the Bible clearly says that he was wrestling against, there's a pronoun in there, and it's capitalized in our Bible, which means that we agree with the majority of theologians that believe that it was actually God come in the form of a man called a theophany, right? When God arrives, and it looks like he's in human form, but he's an angel. So we actually had a discussion about whether or not to put wings on that angel. And we felt like it wasn't possible for people to understand that it was a supernatural being if we didn't put wings on it. But then we made sure that the faces were very similar, so that you knew that we don't really know the face of God. We only see the reflection of ourselves as we're wrestling with God. So man, that's something to think about. Have you ever thought about the fact that you interacting with God means that God's making you look at you? Because realize that you can't see God's face, but he knows exactly what you look like. And when you're wrestling with him, that's part of the amazing thing about adding that Jewish roots to your faith, is recognizing that that God is a God whose face we cannot see. So when we depict angels, especially one that would be fighting against you, right? It would be a spiritual being that you saw your reflection, because you don't see God's face. I find that fascinating. Okay, so I want to show you how it's depicted in some children's books. You'll see here, right? Who's definitely the angel in that picture? Dressed in white, wings, right? And there's little Jacob. Then you see in this one over here, look in this picture Bible, they have him and there's no wings on the picture. Where's that one? That one is right here. See that little picture there? We'll make sure we close up that one for you. And then if you look even further, you'll see in another children's Bible, man, I just had the picture. Where did it go? Oh, here, look at this one. This is the one I grew up with, right? I tell you, I grew up with my little kid's Bible. But that's Jacob, and he's wrestling with the angel. Again, it's the whole blonde-haired, you're holy, and dark-haired, you're not thing's a little bit concerning in that version, but I get the point. But these are the ones that you show children. Now let's go a little further up the food chain to where we're looking at Bibles that are done. I'm going to show you a Christian rendition and then a Jewish rendition. In this Christian rendition of the Bible, right, you can see right here that the angel definitely has wings. Again, he's in red, and they both have got their feet on the ground. It's very dark. I love the fact that this one gives context to the picture, that it's like I think the way they're showing that God is involved is that there's this, thundering in the heavens kind of feel to this picture. I think this one has better context than some of the other ones that show it as a glowy situation when we know it happened when he wrestled through the night with the angel. So I think that one's got some elements to it that I really like. And then this one here, I wanted to show you, is from the Illustrated Jewish Publication Society Bible, which I love. And this one here, look at this one. Okay, I'm going to ask I'm going to ask my son to give you a close-up of this one as well. But in this one here, again, the angel has wings. And you see that there's, it's definitely dark, and it's not like the bright of the day. But do you realize that small things that you insinuate in pictures, like, is the picture dark or is the picture light? Is it happening at night? Is it happening in the morning? Is the sun behind them? Is the sun in front of them? When we think about the idea that Jacob wrestled with the angel, that's what caused his name to be changed to Israel, because Israel means wrestles with God. I think that's the greatest definition of all of us who are children of Israel, is that our relationship with God comes at the cost of recognizing that though we wrestle with understanding and seeing the face of God, we do not overcome, right? We do not overcome God. What we do is we wrestle to the point where we realize that God is stronger than us. God is able to do everything that He has planned for our lives. And in the midst of it, in our weakness, His strength is perfected. That's why I love the idea of sometimes people will change their names when they've been through a tremendous life changer. It's really easy to imagine, like when a woman gets married, she's not the same person she was. They've become one. So I get that. But there was a time in my life when God asked me to change my name, because I had been wrestling with God and with man over really knowing who I was as a person. And the name, when I was little, there weren't a lot of people named Danielle. The name was Daniel, and so I used to it's funny, but they used to call me Daniel Boone. They used to make jokes about it, and when I was a kid, it really hurt my feelings, even though, by the way, I would be honored to be called that now, because I'm friends with Pat Boone, and I love him and his beautiful family. But at the time, it was really difficult as a child when people make fun of your name, right? So I can imagine that Jacob got made fun of about his name a lot of the time. Remember, he was the one that stayed close to home and stayed near mom, while his big brother Esau was the one who was out in the woods and his dad's favorite. But there are very important things that come after this wrestling match that you have to read about in your Parsha this week, and in that portion. And it includes the fact that right after that is when he meets Esau. I want you to know that one of the biggest tragedies in the Bible is in this week's Parsha. And that's when Jacob does, and it's not, there's several things that happen in this week's Parsha which are very upsetting. Jacob's only recorded daughter's name, Dinah, is humiliated and has a very difficult time. But her brothers disobey their father, and they cause a terrible crisis for Jacob that causes him to cry out to God. So it's all very intense. But realize that between those two stories, where he wrestles with God on his return to his father, and when his own family starts to fall apart, there is a crossroads that he reaches when he meets up with his brother Esau. And he had a chance to reconcile with his brother Esau, and he missed the chance. He walked by it. He turned away and didn't meet his brother like he said he would. And I want you to know that in this holiday season and this time of reading the Parsha, because this Parsha always falls around the Christian holidays every year. It's this time of year. And it always makes me think about how many people are about to see their family members for the holidays, and this is your chance to meet them. Don't miss your window. Do not teach your children to make the same mistakes you make by not reconciling with your family. Do everything you can to reconcile with your family this week. Have a great day, and we'll talk next week.
I call heaven and earth to witness against you today.